Hello folks, welcome back to the Hungaroring after qualifying for the 2020 Hungarian Grand Prix. Will Buxton, Lawrence Barretto, we were expecting rain, it didn't come. We were expecting Red Bull to fight for pole, and that didn't happen either. Lawrence, what's going on?
It's a good question. If only they knew. And Max Verstappen was saying when we were talking to him afterwards that they don't know what's going wrong, and I suppose that's quite concerning. You've made a face there, Will. Yeah. It's not looking good for those guys. They've had an upgraded car these last couple of races, and they don't seem to understand whether those upgrades work or not. When Max has been out on track, and Alex as well, they can't find a good balance with the car. It seems very unstable. We've talked about that previously as well. And Max is saying that when he's really pushing the limit, the rear of the car just goes away, and you know, if you've got a car like that, how can you really expect to challenge for the top positions?
Yeah, this is it. Of course, Alex Albon didn't make it out of Q2, qualifying behind the Williams of George Russell. He will start 13th. Max Verstappen will start 7th, behind the two Ferraris, who've looked much better this weekend, it must be said, but still, you know, not on the pace of the Mercedes that we were expecting after those 2 weekends in Austria. And you're right, the car does look skittish. It's looked skittish ever since it was launched, all the way through testing, and the drivers at the end of each day said, no, we're just pushing it. You know, we're just trying to find the limit, trying to find, you know, where we can push to and not go over. But those excuses now, they seem quite flimsy, they seem quite thin. There is a genuine worry over, as you say, the balance of that car.
Particularly as we've come to a circuit that's very different to Austria. It's tight and twisty, and generally Red Bulls, not just this one, but in years gone by, are suited to this circuit.
Yeah.
So the very fact that they're not that strong here, behind Ferrari, behind Racing Point, obviously behind Mercedes, is a little bit of a concern. They broke curfew last night so they could work on the cars for longer just to try and make setup changes. Those setup changes evidently didn't work, and they're going to go into tomorrow's race, and it's probably going to be a long afternoon.
I mean, we always look to Red Bull and Adrian Newey and, you know, that amazing design department that they have there, and we automatically just assume, well, they'll have their aero sorted, because they always have had. What they needed was a proper power unit. They moved from Renault to Honda. Honda are coming better and better, you know, with each passing year. And it seems that while they may have a decent power unit in the back now, they've lost the one thing which was their most dependable asset, which was that aerodynamic efficiency.
Traditionally, Red Bull do start the season slower, so I suppose we...
And we are only in race 3.
Exactly, and it's very early days, but I think they came in with massive expectations for this year. I think they'd really hoped that they could really start the season on the front foot, and that hasn't happened, and we don't know how long this season's going to be. We don't know how long they're going to have to catch back up. So I think you could see in the faces, particularly of Alex today, the huge disappointment of know what's happened, what's transpired.
Well, he knows, doesn't he, that the sword of Damocles hangs very close to the second driver's neck at that team. You know, this was the last race last year for Pierre Gasly before he got dropped by the team. Worth pointing out, actually, Max Verstappen's quali time this year, 3/10 down on last year. But interestingly, Albon's quali time 3/10 down on Gasly's qualifying time from last year. So there is at least consistency in how much time they're off. Even if Albon, I'm sure, could have done better, could have got into Q3, they sent him out in traffic.
Sorry guys, but I told you, just don't put me in traffic.
Yeah, copy Alex. We'll discuss back here.
It was a messy session.
He was definitely frustrated afterwards. I think he felt that he could have at minimum got into Q3. And as you said, he's under pressure. I think he's dealing with it very well, but he's under the pressure that he needs to start delivering. He had a reasonably strong result in the last race in Austria, but we are potentially looking at 2 out of 3 weekends now where he's not really cut the mustard.
I mean, you say he had a strong weekend in Austria. He was nowhere near Max come the checkered flag. You know, and that's what the team are going to be looking at. And as we've said, you know, there's no certainty over his position at the team, whether they want to move people around, you know, if it gets too much. But he's already had people coming up and standing up for him in the paddock, notably George Russell, who out-qualified him today. Said Red Bull are making Alex look like an idiot. Max Verstappen, though, had words for George.
Well, I thought it was firstly a nice touch of George to say that, to back up his mate. They're obviously very good friends. But when it was put to Max in our written session later on, he was kind of just saying to George, well, look, focus on your own team. You don't know anything about what's going on here, which evidently is true.
Yes.
And that you should just let Red Bull get on with it. And, you know, they've got to get on with it. They've got a lot of work to do.
To be fair to George, he is focusing on what he's doing at Williams, and he out-qualified a Red Bull today.
He did.
So, yes. Anyway, is this a blip? Is it circuit-specific? Is it a deeper worry?
I think we're edging towards a deeper worry, in truth, just because we're at the second different type of circuit, very different to Austria, and they've performed reasonably strongly here in years gone by. But caveat, we're only in race 3. I think going forward, the concern for Max and Red Bull and Alex now is that they're talking about fundamental things that aren't feeling happy with the car. Interestingly, actually, Toto Wolff said he doesn't think that there's anything fundamentally wrong with the car. They've just gone in the wrong direction. It could just be that they've pursued the wrong direction this weekend, or they've pursued the wrong direction with their improvements on the car. But at the moment, they look lost, and I think for them at this point in the season, that's not great.
You say they needed to hit the ground running to fight Mercedes. They haven't done that. They've taken a wrong direction with the car. They had upgrades this weekend, which I don't think they've been able to run as they would have wished because the weather curtailed that yesterday. So perhaps we haven't seen everything from them. But it would be a shock to think that a team with the experience of Red Bull, with the know-how of Red Bull, particularly from the aerodynamics perspective, would have got things drastically wrong.
Yeah, clearly the balance is very disconnected. You know, I'm having understeer, oversteer all at the same time, so it's not really working.
I guess it will all come out in the wash over the next few races, where we will see what really happens. Maybe they'll fight back in the race tomorrow, win the damn thing, and this will all be forgotten. But
Maybe.
Somehow I doubt it.
I mean, the weather's looking unpredictable, isn't it, tomorrow? So that could mix things up. We saw Adrian Newey on the pit wall today. It's interesting that he tends to spend these early races at the race kind of keeping an eye on what's going on. They need him more than ever really now, don't they? Just to try and get control of what's going on now, and they need to find a solution quick.
They do. One thing's for sure, though, this isn't a new story. It's been rumbling under the surface ever since the cars hit the track in Spain in February. The car is fast, well, for the most part, but skittish and difficult to drive. And as you say, that's not a short-term fix. That's your lot, though, from the track for Saturday. Can't wait for the race tomorrow. Be sure to join us, F1.com, F1 TV, and, of course, all your normal social media outlets. For now, though, from Lawrence, from me, that's your lot.